right, Dolphin fans, welcome to Goal to Goal, a brand new show featuring Lisa Johnson from NFLFemale and myself, Paul Picken from On The FinSide, in the stands, all that good stuff. Lisa, I know the Dolphins lost. Go ahead and jump right in. How are you feeling after the loss?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good that we're doing the show 24 hours after the game instead of 10 minutes after the game. You know, it gives you good 24 hours to reflect on what you saw, go back, look at some of the plays, and I'm sure, you know, you'll agree with me, Paul, we left a lot of plays out on that field. Can say I'm not disappointed we lost. It was a tough game. I mean, double-digit loss is what they had us in Vegas. They didn't really give the Dolphins a shot at all. And until that last drive, Paul, I mean, we had this game. I mean, this game was the Dolphins to win.
Not just that. It's like a lot of folks have said, 13 points left out on the field. I know everybody's throwing all the shade at Kenny Stills, but let's face it, our special teams share some of the blame. They left 6 points out on the field between the missed chip shot and the blocked field goal that really goes on Miami Tunsil, but it was just an inexperienced thing at that point in time. I know Franks did take it a little bit low, but let's face it, Tunsil got a wide split, got bull rushed by two guys, pushed way back in the backfield. Even if Franks got a little bit higher, it was probably getting blocked at that point. Good learning point for Tunsil. It's a shame. And there's a handful of things you can really point to in this game. I mean, do you put the blame on Kenny yourself, or do you kind of look at
No, I don't. I mean, one play doesn't define the game. I mean, and, you know, you got to shake it off. I mean, there's, you know, a lot of things happen. Frank, I disagree a little bit on the Tunsil. I mean, these is a 27-yard field goal. Those are field goals that pretty much, if you look at the projection of the ball, if you get it high enough, a lot of those guys could stand up in. So, like I said, I know they shared the responsibility there. And like I said, you know, if Tunsil does get that block down, keeps that guard down low, and that ball doesn't get, you know, we're 3 points on the board. So, like I said, they'll look at that. They'll correct that. I mean, that's what this is about. I mean, when you go into the game, you look at Kenny. Certainly, we'll just hit the dark elephant in the room here, Paul, with the kneeling of the national anthem. I mean, put the spotlight on yourself a little bit, you know, and you go out and perform kind of like that. So, what kind of got me a little bit was Kenny's had an outstanding preseason. I mean, you know, you watched it, I watched it. I mean, he caught everything his way. Sometimes the easiest passes are the ones to drop. So I think Kenny got a little bit extra criticism because of the pregame activities that went on. So, but, you know, he's got to correct this. And from what I was hearing down in Dolphin camp in Davie today, he pretty much carried a football around with him all day.
And I'm not going to dig on Kenny Stills. I picked him up in my fantasy team. I still expect huge things from him this year.
I did as well. I
mean, let's cut the kid a break. He's shown some really good chemistry with Tannehill. It looked like he tried to run with it before the catch, which, if you look back to youth football, even one of the biggest adages is make sure you make the catch before you take off with it. And unfortunately, that's what happened. Yeah. I mean, the Dolphins really beat themselves here, but they looked good in a lot of areas. What were some of the areas that looked good to you?
Well, I thought our defense did an outstanding job. But you know what? I've got to give major props to the offensive line. I thought Sheen did an excellent job at center, you know, with the noise factor that they were facing. I thought our offensive line was great. Tannehill had plenty of time back there, it seemed. Held the ball a little bit too long for me on a couple things. But like I said, these are things he's got to work with. This is a new offense for him. You know, this isn't like this 5 years in the league and this is the same offense. I mean, he's learning as it goes. I mean, I'm sure they'll look at film, but I have to give major props to the offensive line. I thought we'd had a huge step. Certainly, I thought we outplayed them in the trenches. I thought our defense got great pushes. You know, I think losing Mario there at the end drive really hurt us a little bit. My question to you, Paul, is we're hearing a lot of rumblings about Cam Wake not being on the field on first, second, and third down. What are your feelings about him rotating Cam in on pass rush situations?
I think it's absolutely smart and precisely the right move. You look at the defensive line from top to bottom. It's the depth along this defensive line. And really, one of the big things I saw in this game was you name a player that's in that depth on that defensive line, and they played well, and they had some impact plays at one point or another. Whether it's Jason Jones at defensive end, Andre Branch filling in at defensive end, Cam Wake has never been the guy, and I know this is going to probably upset some people listening. Cam Wake has never been the guy that sets the edge on rundowns. Cam Wake has never been an above-average run defender. He's okay against the run, don't get me wrong. His forte, his bread and butter, his big way dominating in games is getting to the quarterback. And he's getting up there in years. He's had some injuries. And you do this, you keep him fresh. And he's able to chase Russell Wilson all game, who's a mobile quarterback that gives people fits and wears down defensive linemen, making them chase him. Now you've got a fresh Cam Wake in passing situations that's out there, and then you've got above-average run defenders in guys like Andre Branch and Jason Jones. So we're getting the best of both worlds. We can't get upset about that.
No, like I said, I thought we did an outstanding job. I mean, like I said, I felt like we won the game in the trenches, and that's what makes it hard because, to me, that's where the games are won. And I felt like we had control, and, we were setting, we set a standard for ourselves, I think. I think we played a lot better than a lot of people expected. I certainly, looked at the positive of the game. I mean, it was a tough loss. Sure, you don't want to lose. But, honestly, we have a tough schedule, and brings us to our next thing. We're off to New England next week. Pretty much the Jimmy G show up in New England now. They beat the Cardinals, on a missed field goal by the Cardinals. Seems like a lot of games past weekend came down to final drives, ours included. So, like I said, the Dolphins, it's not an easy task next week either. We got another tough road challenge ahead of us. We always, individual rival game with the New England Patriots, and like I said, it's a Jimmy G, and I thought he had a pretty good game. Kid looked pretty calm and collected to me, but I also said that Bill Belichick always has a way with these backup quarterbacks, makes them look like starters.
Yeah, and I know we're going to dive in depth on that in our next show, but I will say Bill Belichick is the lifeblood of that team. People can point to Brady, they can point to Gronk, they can point to anybody they want, but he has a way of making any player that he gets look better. So if Bill Belichick's still on that sideline, it's a dangerous team, regardless of who is on that roster. But back to something you were saying before about the trenches. Mm-hmm. What did you think of Jordan Phillips in this game?
Oh, outstanding! He's what a pickup he was. I mean, you look at the play, impact plays every single down. 110% from this guy. I mean, he was in the backfield. I was very impressed with him. Like I said, I think our defensive line pretty much was what we kind of expected and saw in a little bit of in the preseason. Little dash of brilliance there. I mean, Sue's a beast. We all know that. I mean, he commands double coverage sometimes. So that definitely frees people up. Reminds me a lot of Olivia Vernon, because you have to compensate for Wake if he's third down on passes. You have to have Sue. You have to have Mario Williams. I mean, and who does that free up? Of course. Guess who it frees up? So you always look to those guys to have better games, and I think that's what the Olivia Vernon thing was about, is because you're going to have that one down one-on-one. And I felt like he was that guy, and I think he stepped up and proved that he can be a force also on the defensive line. So he caused a lot of problems for Russell Wilson yesterday.
Yeah, it's the one play I keep going back to is when he forced the fumble, primarily by driving the guard into Russell Wilson. The moment he took the snap and blowing Russell Wilson over, essentially, with the guard and knocking the ball out. I mean, that was impressive, and it's a flash of what I think we all hoped we'd see from Jordan Phillips when he got drafted last year.
Right.
Yeah, I was blown away by him. Mario Williams, I know there was a lot of knock on him in the preseason and his ability to get to the passer at this point. I think he quelled a few doubts there, even though he left a little bit early.
I think he did a lot. And like I said, it also shows you, he left the game with concussion. The guy was playing lights out football. He was putting some hits on some people. Like I said, it'll just kind of be interesting to see with him entering the concussion protocol now, see if we can get him back on the field, because I think we had outstanding starting defensive line. Key is, keep these guys healthy, try, like I said, with Cam coming in and out fresh. And I think that was Gates' thing. Keep these linemen fresh, rotating. It makes sense when you look at it, especially for teams that like Gates was saying in his presser. It's hard, play after play, especially for these fast-paced offenses that don't have to do the sugar hurdles. Like, you remember the old Peyton Manning sugar hurdles where it's like fast-paced. Guys are winded that, you got to try to get them off the field in and out. And that's kind of hard for these guys, especially with an offense like Russell Wilson. He's a mobile quarterback. Like you say, he's always constantly running around. You're always constantly running after him. Certainly when he got his ankle hurt a little bit, he kind of slow-paced a little bit out, couldn't get out of the pocket a little bit. Certainly should have given us the advantage. But, Russell Wilson is that next step tier quarterback, like I like to call him. they find ways to win games. And, unfortunately, I am not a prevent defense person. I hate it. And I do. I always have. I just don't understand them, because I know I've talked to guys about it, and they're like, no, actually the percentage is a lot better. I don't know if I've ever been on a Dolphin team where our prevent defense on a last drive has stepped up. Maybe once in a while, but it just seems, Paul, we're in the same situation every day. And then you see Bobby Kane back there, and I was like, oh boy. It was just Russell, and like I said, we lost Mario on that last drive. So I thought that was a little bit of a blow to us. But like I said, we went into our prevent defense.
And here's the thing with the prevent, and for those listening, the prevent is not
winning,
playing.
Guys. Just listen to Paul.
What's that?
I said, besides prevent you from winning, listen to Paul here. Let's just analyze it a little bit.
It's the prevent defense is not playing to win. It's playing to not lose. And there's a huge difference. I mean, it's one of those scenarios where you've got something that's working, and yes, they are going to try the deep pass, maybe throw in an extra defensive back, but really the prevent defense is something that just opens up a lot because you're so scared of them going over the top. I got news for you. The Seahawks were not able to go over the top on Miami all day.
No, it was, we contained it. You're absolutely right there. So, like I said, I thought we did outstanding job there. And give Gase some credit. Yes, I was a little hard on him. Like, I thought some of the play calling was a little vanilla. I thought, I expected a little bit more of a fast-paced, high-octane thing. Thought Arian Foster ran very well. I mean, got free there on a couple times. Absolutely one thing, Paul, that I loved about the game yesterday, I loved the deep ball. Regardless of whether Kenny caught that ball or not, it still was a wake-up call for them. Cam Chancellor's a beast. He's one of the best players in the NFL, and he has to be. I mean, look at the defense. I mean, Seattle's defense has been ranked in the top 10 for the last, 5 years in a row. So, you have to give the Dolphins offensive credit. I mean, that was a tough defense. And, I think Gase's first plan was to kind of back Chancellor up a little bit, and that Miami's not afraid to throw the deep ball. My thing is with Kenny, we need Devontae Parker to step up. We need that other guy, and I think that hurt us a little bit. I mean, we need that guy. And I don't know. I can't speculate what's going on with Parker. I know there's some injury issues. I know there's been some rumblings out of Miami about the guy's structure, if he's built for this type of NFL, if he can take it, because it seems like he's hurt every other player pulls up. I think the guy just plays hard. He gives it 110%, and sometimes I think you put your body in a situation, and I think that's what Gase was trying to say this week, was that he just needs to be smarter at some of the things that he tries to do out there and protect his body a little bit. Whether that has to do with conditioning or training. I know he's working hard with the trainers, but I mean, we need a body out there, and I think that was a little bit of a wake up call when we signed Justin Hunter. That serious, we need a body out there, and we need another target. We need another target for Tannehill.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. And by all reports that have come out, Devontae Parker is expected to resume practice this week, expected to play in the game this weekend against New England. Hopefully, he's gotten some of that being a professional aspect a little further under his belt and really started to realize what he needs to do to condition his body and really prepare himself to be able to play and to avoid those injuries. We were without him. We were without Jay Ajayi, which I know we can talk about all night. And we were without Mike Pouncey, which, by the way, I'm sure you saw this, but for those listening as well, by all reports, Mike Pouncey actually has a fracture in his hip and may be out for a few more weeks on top of that. Luckily, I don't have a problem with Anthony Steen being out there, believe it or not.
I thought he did a great job.
Very impressive.
Certainly not Pouncey. I mean, certainly not Pouncey, and we need Pouncey back there. It's our, that's a captain of our offensive line. But I mean, as far as the way he responded in Seattle, like I said, I have no problem with him being out there. I feel confident that I would love to get Pouncey back 100% healthy, and if that takes a couple more games of him, getting healthy, then I'm okay with that.
Fair enough. All right, Lisa, any final thoughts from you before we wrap it up?
No, like I said, the positives, I think we played well. I think we showed growth, and I think that's what everybody was looking for. Like I said, linebacker play, Kiko kind of drives me crazy sometimes. You saw some of my tweets yesterday. He was driving me nuts. I think we need to learn from this. I think they will. Absolutely think we have the right coaching staff right now, Paul. I think we're headed in the right direction, and like I said, we just need to see improvement every single game, and we'll see what happens.
Completely agree. I'm very impressed with these coaches, and there's a lot of football left, a lot of games to go, and if Miami wins this weekend, they actually take over first based on tiebreaker scenarios in the AFC East. It's not all doom and gloom. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Lisa and I will be back here every week. We're going to have 2 segments a week. First one's going to look back at the previous game. Second segment every week is going to be looking ahead to the next game. So look for our Patriots coverage, our Patriots Dolphins coverage coming up in the next few days as well. Thanks a lot, folks. Have a good one.
Have a good guys.